Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Lele, good to have you. Today we have a phenomenal guest with us, Mike Lee, who is a performance coach and a keynote speaker, and a gentleman that I'm continuously learning from. How you doing? How's everything going? Staying mindful?
Going well. Have to. It's a necessity right now. Just having that self-awareness is huge. It's been, obviously everybody's going through something right now, everybody at the varying degrees, but it's definitely unprecedented times, which I think is going to be the word of 2020.
From sport to mindfulness, how do we make the connection? Where would you start from with your journey?
Started my journey really out of my college apartment. I built an international basketball training company. So we worked with middle school through NBA basketball players from across the world, running events in Indonesia, all across the United States and Spain. And I did that. It was the only thing I did for about 10 years. We were always cognizant of the mental side of the game. We knew that if players only worked on their individual skills and they only worked on their athleticism, their strength conditioning, it was only going to take them so far. And only until you the only way to maximize your potential was to work equally on your mind, your body, and your skills. And we found that the best of the best, that's what they were doing. That's where they were making investments in their own development. But I wasn't really aware of the practices that you could implement, just like you'd lift weights or just like you'd work on your individual skills as a basketball player. Wasn't really aware of specific training that you could do to work on your mind, to develop that mental toughness, to develop the self-awareness, to develop the ability to focus under pressure. And I picked up a meditation practice, a mindfulness meditation practice, and it completely changed the course of my life. After a few months of a consistent practice, I realized that all the skills that I was previously teaching in the basketball space, from getting players to perform under pressure to developing that court awareness, which I feel like is directly related to cultivating self-awareness. Skills like that were all elevated when you had a mindfulness practice. Just like when an athlete lifts, there are physical evidence of change. There's physical evidence of change when an athlete lifts, and your muscles break down, they grow back stronger, and you see that physical evidence. Well, when you have a mindfulness practice, as you guys know, there's areas of your brain that change as well that are correlated with things like your ability to handle stress and your focus. And it shows up on fMRI scans that these areas of your brain actually physically change. And so there's evidence that these mindfulness practices actually create real results. Teaching these skills in the basketball space, I realized that while I loved working with players and developing that relationship, and basketball is a beautiful game, that I wanted to build people instead of just building basketball players. And that's where I transitioned into working more so in organizational leadership space, helping individuals unlock their human potential, which ultimately helps organizations perform at their highest level.
Mindfulness and meditation and that road probably has some resistance, especially, to kind of this more macho setting in the sports world. But I'm sure whatever you learned in there helped you to then bring that to other audiences. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
A mindfulness practice is really hard to describe to somebody. It's something that they have to have a direct experience with. I took players through this exercise. I had about 100 kids in the gym, and it's tough to read, like when they're going through this experience, how they're experiencing it. And what was interesting was when I got done, I remember a girl coming up to me. She was a high school girl. She came up to me and she said, "That was so awesome. Are we going to do it again?" And I've never, experienced anything like that in my life. It was interesting to see the response, and it honestly has always only been positive. I've taught thousands of kids how to meditate from that standpoint of that part of my life, my career. thousands of kids how to meditate, and it's always been a positive response. I think one way to experience what a mindfulness practice can do for you is to get in a really good workout and then go into a mindfulness practice right after that, because you're going to be in a much better state to be able to have a good experience with the practice.
What you're telling us, is really getting people to try it, right? And showing also different practices and techniques, so people can experience it.
A player like Kobe Bryant, who's one of the greatest basketball players we've ever seen, he had a mindfulness practice every single day for the last 18 years of his career. And because of that, he was able to anchor himself in the present moment amidst tons of distractions and pressure, because he created that self-awareness to always come back to his breath. And when he had the ability to continually come back to his breath, he had the ability to come back to the present moment and to be completely locked in on the task at hand, on the set they're running, on the play that they're running, and also be able to go a step even further and be able to block everything out and just drop into his instincts, drop into his training, and let those habits and those rituals and the skills that he had developed just take over.
How does one get started, right? What would you suggest for people that are experimenting on the fence, right? Have tried stuff and it's not really working for them? What kind of suggestions would you give them?
Number one, make a decision about a practice and what type of practice you're going to use. Second thing is make a commitment to it. Make a commitment to doing it for at least 30 days. And then you have to take massive action with it. Consistently follow through with resolve with that practice. And so even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, start with a guided practice. I know you have a bunch of resources around it that people can use. There's tons of apps like Headspace that are a great place to start. But you got to make a commitment to it. Nothing, just like anything else in your life, nothing's going to change unless you're fully committed to it.
If you would list what are effectively the benefits, is like in performance, is it endurance? Where would you list them?
Whether you're coaching an individual at a corporation or whether you're coaching an individual at a sports team, like having that foundation of awareness is so crucial.
Your favorite mindfulness resource?
I would have to say Headspace. That's how I started.
Any book you would recommend about the topic?
Similarly, the founder of Headspace has a book. I think it's called Headspace.
Favorite mindfulness practice that you do?
A practice where I'm going through just focusing on sounds in my environment, going through a body scan, and then moving my attention to my breath. I think that's really my favorite, and it's simple.
Your favorite place where you practice?
It's just at home, in my office, in my chair, with my headphones, and that's it.
Morning or night meditation?
It is beneficial if you can do something like that to start your day and to end your day.
Anything else we should share that we haven't shared that you think is particularly important?
I think the biggest thing is just start. Don't read about it. I mean, obviously you can spend time doing some research and reading about it, but don't be too much in your head about it. It's like we kind of talked about in the beginning. It's something you have to experience. Just like you're never going to know what it's like to go swimming until you jump in the ocean or jump in the water. You're not going to be able to know what it's like to swim if you're just reading a book about how to swim. And so I think it's really important to just dive in and just start with a practice, download Headspace, go check out some of Patrick's information and the course that he has with Oxford, and check that stuff out. That'd be a great place to start as well. But just dive in. Everybody's got 10 minutes a day that they can start with a practice. If you don't have 10 minutes in your day, you don't really have a life. So I think you just dive in. Everybody in here can give up 10 minutes of social media, 10 minutes of Netflix, 10 minutes of TV, 10 minutes of something in their life that is not serving them and supporting their highest vision of how they want to live their life. And you can try it for 10 minutes a day for 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, and decide whether or not it's going to be practice for you.
Reach out to Mike for your questions, your comments. If you want to learn more about performance, more about, even being a keynote speaker, about meditation, about mindfulness, his story's fascinating. We just scratched a tiny surface of it. So check him out on LinkedIn. He's got a great book. He's got a great website. Lots of nice and very interesting references as well. Thanks, Mike, for being with us.
Thanks, Mike.
Lele?
Thanks, guys. It was great being on.